is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Aston Villa 2, Tottenham 0 in the last game before Bilbao, the penultimate game of the Premier League season as well. And it wasn't one to remember, was it, Sim? It wasn't one to remember, like the many of the other games that we've played recently. 11 changes in the team from the second leg at Bodo. And it pretty much played out that way, to be honest. I thought, look, the players gave a much better fight in the first half than maybe what we could have hoped for or what we did hope for. But ultimately, it ended up being the same result.
Yeah, and I think we took an opposite approach to what Man United took in their game. They pretty much played their first choice 11. We ended up playing an all-changed 11, our complete B team. Only maybe one of the players that started yesterday is going to be starting on Wednesday in Bilbao in what is a monumental game for us. And I think Ange said before the game, he's going to wrap these players in cotton wool. He's not going to be taking any chances. And he was true to his word with the lineup. I think before the game, when the lineup got announced, I think most people probably breathed a sigh of relief, I would say, looking at that lineup, thinking, all right, no Van der Ven, no Romero, Bentancur Basuma being rested, Solanke Richarlison being rested. I think most people were pretty happy with that he decided to go with that kind of lineup. And obviously, we all knew that if we play that kind of team, what the results like and performance is likely to be. And I think in the first half, probably a bit surprised that it wasn't as easy as maybe it was for Palace last week to cut us open, create loads of chances, get good quality chances as well. And we were looking a bit of a threat as well. Odegaard and Tell had some, and Son were doing some good link-up play in the early exchanges. We created a couple of opportunities, a couple of openings. Sonny was causing some problems down the left. They looked like, okay, maybe we're going to cause a surprise here. But I just think after the first 20 minutes, as the game went on, Villa kind of just took control and we struggled to get back in the game after that.
Yeah, I do give Spurs credit for limiting Villa to high-quality chances in that first half, because I thought Danso and Davis were doing a pretty good job at the back, particularly Danso. I thought, like you say, on the transition, we were looking good with Sonny out on the left. We made one really good move on the day with it culminating in Odegaard's kind of back heel, which went straight into the keeper's arms. But it was a lovely sort of passage of play. Sonny putting a nice ball out to Odegaard with the exchange with Tell, and Tell getting it back to Odegaard with the back heel. I mean, that was probably our best passage of play in the game. Probably our only real proper passage of play in the game, to be fair.
Yeah, I think there were a couple moments with Son which were threatening, I think. Obviously, right at the beginning of the game, he gets in behind Matt Cash, doesn't he? It looks like he's going to create a good chance, and he just dawdles on it a bit too long. Maybe didn't have the support that he wanted, but I think probably if he got that chance back, he probably just goes for goal and has an effort and tries to score. Then he had that moment as well where he gets on the left-hand side, just very sharply cuts inside Matt Cash, and without a second thought tries to whip it into that top corner and was an inch away. Then we had that move, as you say, Son and Tell and Odegaard all linking up together, which was a really devastating counter. And it culminated, as you say, Odegaard getting that back heel. Brilliant ball from Son into Odegaard as well to start that counter-attack. And that was a really good move. But unfortunately, Martinez makes a save. I do think that was our last shot on target of the whole game.
I think it was, yeah.
Maybe our only one. But that was a good move. And then there was another moment near the end of the half where Son starts a counter-attack deep inside his own half and very impressively just burns Kamara for pace down that left-hand side. And Kamara's not known as like a really slow player, but he made him look like one on that occasion. And he did have like a couple players in support, but both of them were making not the best runs, and he kind of played the ball behind both Odegaard and Tell at the back post. It wasn't the best ball from Son, but the way he got into that position was quite impressive. But it's not like Villa didn't have any chances. You know, Kinski had to make a brilliant save from Rodgers. Asensio had a couple of half moments. Watkins was threatening with a couple of moments as well. A couple of shots was Kinski easily saved. So I would say Villa was still probably the better side in that first half, but it was probably still a bit more even than we expected.
Yeah, look, they dominated the possession. I think the only thing that was impressive outside of those moments that you're talking about is how kind of compact and somewhat resolute, because, you know, you mentioned those chances, but none of them were actually like big chances for Villa. They were kind of limited to maybe one or two big chances in that first half. So with the amount of changes, with the tactics deployed, you know, sitting deep and looking to spring on them, with the players on the pitch, you kind of expected it to go a lot more in the favour of Villa, and I thought we did well in terms of just limiting to them to not that many high class chances. And look, I was pleasantly surprised and quite happy at halftime with what I saw. To be honest, I really was. And when you're looking at getting players in shape for the game on Wednesday, obviously the highlight was on Sonny. And I think from what he showed in the first half, maybe not what he showed in the second half because he didn't really turn up for the second half, but in the first half, there was definitely moments to be excited for in terms of looking forward to Wednesday. You really saw that turn of pace come back. You really saw that kind of directness in his play come back. Yeah, he might have hesitated a few times and took a bit longer to make a decision than what we would have liked. But I thought as the first half wore on, he was getting better in that kind of aspect. So there were question marks about Sonny and his fitness and is he going to start on Wednesday? But after seeing that first half, I think when he's in that kind of mood, you just have to play him, don't you?
100%. And it's interesting looking at the discourse surrounding Son after this game. I, for one, I'm not sitting here saying he had played a worldie, he was brilliant or anything like that. I just thought, especially in that first half, there was enough moments to suggest he's going to be in good form going to that game on Sunday, and he's looking a lot fresher. His pace looks like it's returning to him a bit, like he looked quite quick in a lot of those moments. Some of the moments as well, where he was playing a bit more on instinct, not thinking too much, which I think is when Sonny's at his best. Like that moment he had that shot, a couple of crosses as well. I remember one moment, I think Reguilon just lays the ball back and he just takes one touch and whips it in with his left foot, and it led to an interesting moment at the back post, which I think they dealt with. But those kind of things is when Sonny is at his best. And I thought Son was looking quite good in that first half. He did fade in the second half, unfortunately. He was obviously taken off on 75. But I see some people saying he looked quite good, he looked quite fresh, and, definitely based on that, we should be starting him. And then I'm seeing some other people saying, based on what we saw yesterday, he's completely off it and there's no chance he should be starting on Sunday. I saw, I'm going to call him out, I saw Sean say if he starts on Wednesday, then it's a disgrace and it's a complete kind of abandonment of meritocracy if we start Son on Wednesday. Who deserves
to start ahead of him on a meritocracy
100%,
basis?
100%. First of all, there's that. But also, was he that bad that if he starts, it's a disgrace? I think you've got to get a grip. It's
not even that him being that bad. Who else has been that good that they deserve to start on the left wing? The only other option really is Tell. Mm-hmm. And has Tell even done anything to stake a claim for that spot? I don't think so.
I agree. No, especially not ahead of Son. I don't think he's done anything to grab that spot, especially in these last few games. Against Forest, he played quite well, and then obviously against West Ham, he got an assist, but that's pretty much all he did. And then the last two games against Palace and against Villa, very little to. He's unlucky maybe not to get an assist for Odegaard, but other than that, there was very little to suggest he's ready to start ahead of Sonny on Wednesday. Yeah. And I just thought Son looked a lot better than him when he was on the left, and I thought Son looked quite good in that first half. He was having quite a good game. He did have a poor. Maybe it's because second half he had a poor game. That's what sticks in people's minds. Because that's the last thing they saw is him not having the best second half. I just thought overall, I think he did more than enough to show he should be starting on Wednesday.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I thought apart from Sonny, I thought Kinski had a very good game yesterday. He was probably our best player on the pitch, commanding his box, which I love to see from him yesterday. Claiming things in the box, catching some good catching on display. And obviously you mentioned it before, but that save in the first half was actually a top save. It really was. Stretched out, fingertips, and puts it out for a corner. But look, Kinski surprised me a bit yesterday because it's not really his kind of shot stopping and his saves and his commanding of the box, which is kind of what's come to the light of his performances recently or since coming to Spurs. It's mainly his playing out the back and with his ball at his feet. And I don't think he was that good at it yesterday in terms of playing out the back, and some of his passing was going wayward and out of play. But it was really his commanding off the box which really impressed me yesterday.
He did play one brilliant throw to Odegaard, though, didn't he?
The throw, yeah.
Which Odegaard should have done a lot more with. Could have been in on goal there. But I think he had a great game, I agree. Although, what I would say is that second goal he'll be disappointed with. Because I did think it was quite straight. And I think he don't most top keepers probably keep that out. He gets a good hand to it as well, so he'll be a bit disappointed that one slipped through. I don't think he could do much with the first goal, but I think overall made some good saves, was really good at coming and claiming crosses and commanding. I thought it was a very encouraging display, and he looked confident yesterday, so that was good. It was good from Kinski. He was definitely our best player, I would say.
I was a bit disappointed with Mikey, though. I thought Mikey Moore got a bit kind of like physically dominated out of the game, to be honest. And we always feel this with Mikey. Whenever he starts on the right-hand side, he never really puts in a good display. He always earns his money when he's out on the left-hand side, and he looks a lot better and a lot more comfortable when he's there. Obviously, in this game, he did start on the right, ended off going off injured as well, which is really unfortunate. Hopefully, he can be part of the matchday squad in Bilbao, because it'll be such an experience for him. But yeah, it just wasn't. He just didn't really do much, did he?
And you have to say as well, for the lead up to the first goal, he kind of gets caught on the ball on the edge of the area, which led to the corner, which obviously led to the goal. And he struggled. He really, really did struggle. Every time the ball came near him, Maatsen was bullying him, getting in his face, nicking the ball off him. He was really struggling to protect the ball, whether it's inside his own half or inside the opposition half. When he did have a little chance to maybe get one touch into the middle and kind of start an attack, there were a couple of occasions he did all right, but most times when he's like taking a touch inside, his second touch was him being tackled more often than not. Didn't get too many opportunities in the final third to show much. There actually were a couple of occasions he did have a fullback squared up, and you're like, all right, go at him, and he just didn't have the confidence to do it. He kept playing it back, and the moves end up breaking down when that happened, and we were forced to go backwards. It was it'll be a learning curve, and the guy is 17. Clearly, physically, he's got a lot of maturing, I think, to do, in my opinion, when it comes to playing in the Premier League. So I think you see elements that, in terms of speed of the game and reading of the game and what he wants to do, like there are elements that he can do it. I just think his body's quite kind of, you can see he's not quite there yet. And I think Maatsen just had the absolute freedom of that left-hand side, because Mikey Moore struggled to keep up with him. And yeah. Maatsen was having fun. He was nutmegging him. He was bullying him. Every time he got the ball, he was getting to the byline, because he just knew Moore was struggling to track him. And it was a difficult day for Mikey.
Yeah, it was quite evident on the day that our left-hand side was so much stronger than our right-hand side, because I think Spence in the first half as well was just so sloppy. He was actually really annoying me, because he's the one that's probably closest out of this team to staking a claim to the first team after the good form that he had at the beginning of the season. But since he has lost his place to Udogie, his performances have kind of declined, which is unfortunate. And I actually thought Reguilon, he did all right from a defensive standpoint on the left-hand side. Look, it wasn't perfect or anything like that, but on a performance like that, there's no reason why he can't play these games where we're trying to rest players.
I mean, I thought he was poor, to be honest. I don't think he was a disgrace or anything like that. I just thought he was poor. I didn't think he played well. I think most of the time he was just lumping it forward into midfield, and we were giving the ball away. Defensively, he was okay at times. I think they still got a lot of joy down that side, to be honest. I thought Cash was getting a lot of joy. Rodgers was getting quite a bit of joy down that side. I'm not saying he was worse than anyone else, but I just didn't think it was a great game from him, to be honest.
I just felt like, did you not feel like Spence was just frustrating you a lot more than Reguilon yesterday? Because Spence has so much more quality than him, and you expect so much more. And they put in kind of like similar performances.
Yeah, on that basis, yeah, but I don't think Spence was poorer than him, to be honest, in terms of just general baseline performance. I thought they were fairly similar. But yeah, obviously we expect a lot more from Spence, because he's a lot of the season performing quite well, and we now have an expectation of him of how he should perform. And he definitely hasn't reached those expectations over the last few weeks since he's lost his place to Udogie, which I understand he's probably frustrated with. I understand that.
Yeah, but you've got to have a bit of professionalism.
That's the thing. Doesn't matter. You should keep up your standards, but it's hard not to let that get to you when I understand he's basically waited very long for his chance at Tottenham. Finally gets it, grabs it with both hands, and getting so much praise. Even England shouts from a lot of people. When the England squad was announced before, I think he just scored a goal against Ipswich, and then once the big games come, the ones that really, really matter, we've gone with Udogie. And the most painful thing as well is the decision's kind of been justified because Udogie's played so well, and it's not like you can sit here and say, what's Ange doing? Like, he doesn't deserve it. Like, the decision's been vindicated. So Spence is probably sitting here thinking, like, what can I do? Like, I've done so well. I've earned my place in the team. And then kind of through no fault of my own, am I out the team? And now I can't really get back in because the doggy's that first choice. And so I do feel for him. But the only way to kind of combat that is to keep up playing as well as you were, and hope either a doggy, has a dip in form, or you're that good that you give Ange no choice. But unfortunately, that's not what he's doing.
No, not at all. Not at all. In terms of the midfielders, Sarr and Archie, I thought both of them did decent enough in the first half. In terms of shielding that back four. They were very deep, weren't they? And being very aggressive. I don't know how many fouls Sarr gave away in that first half, but there were a few that weren't given as well. So, I mean, he was being overly aggressive. I thought Archie Gray was doing decent enough in that first half, but Archie let his performance slip massively in that second half. That's where it came to. But I thought Archie was doing okay in that first half. Yeah,
I think in terms of like off the ball screening, just kind of protecting the defence, they're doing a decent job. Where they weren't really doing a good job was on the ball. When we were looking to kind of progress the ball, get on the ball in midfield, kind of get the ball forward, they just weren't able to do it. Onana, Kamara, and McGinn as well was stepping in. They were just so completely dominant in that middle. Anything that went into that middle of the park on the ball, they were gobbling up and recycling possession every time. Gray and Sarr and Odebear were really struggling physically, I felt, on the ball anyway. They weren't able to shield it. They weren't able to kind of get any moves together. It was kind of like we just got the ball, we just lumped it long. Again, similar to how a lot of Premier League games have gone for us recently. Lumped it long, not making the ball stick because we don't have a Solanke or Richarlison up front. And then we kind of try and sit a bit deeper on this occasion anyway. And I do think there was some good stuff in terms of when Villa were getting to the byline, they were getting some joy. Maatsen, as I mentioned, getting some joy running off more. But Gray was coming over to kind of block the crosses, and we were making good clearances, and they were putting some challenges in, whether it making fouls and things like that. But definitely as well, there were some occasions where Onana and McGinn decided to go on a run, and Gray comes to kind of block it or tackle, and he just can't get near him. And he's either forced to make a foul, or he just like dives in and misses it. And that's kind of just the level. He's not quite there yet when it comes to midfield right now. And to be fair, even at fullback recently, he hasn't looked particularly great. I do still think he looks a bit more comfortable at fullback, but right now. But obviously, we hope his future is in midfield. But right now, when he's coming up against any midfield, really, because you look at even, we talk about Wolves in midfield. He was struggling at Wolves. He was massively struggled at Palace, and Villa again. Massively struggled. Like he can't really keep up with the pace at the moment, it seems. And especially, you watch that highlight reel when he was playing for Leeds at Chelsea, how confident he was on the ball, how he was able to get the ball forward, not scared to dribble with the ball and take people on. Just seeing none of that at the moment. Absolutely none of it. True. And that's probably even more concerning than the fact that defensively he seems to just be getting overrun.
Yeah, it's just so hard to overly analyse and assess these games, because it's just so clear to see that these games that we're playing right now are just not at the forefront of our minds. And, there isn't the same effort levels in these games that there have been in the Europa League games from everyone involved, from manager to players to fans, everything. The whole club is all geared towards the Europa League run. It was like that before the Frankfurt games. It was like that before the Bodo games. And it's like that now. Before the final on Wednesday, which is completely understandable, to be honest, when you've got nothing at all to play for in the league. This is what it is at the moment, and as long as we put in a good performance on Wednesday and go and lift that trophy, these games against all the game at West Ham and the game that we played yesterday against Villa, nobody's going to care about these games. It's all about Wednesday. And I think that's what people got to understand, because I see just so many angry fans after every loss. And, I was like that as well come a few weeks ago. But it's just all about the Europa League. That's all that matters right now.
And at the end of the day, at the beginning of the season, the goal, or I think everyone would have wanted us to be getting Champions League football, and we're getting a trophy there. And at the end of the day, that's what Europa League achieves. And as much how painful and horrible it is to watch these Premier League performances, and no doubt, it's not something, especially when you're talking about fans paying money to go to games and travelling up to Villa. Apparently, it wasn't a full away end anyway yesterday, but when you've got fans paying a lot of their hard-earned money to go and watch these games, and we're putting out these kind of performances, it's hard to sit here and say that it's justified and no one, who cares kind of thing, because people are paying their money and they probably deserve better than what they're getting, and that's absolutely true.
But on the flip side as well, fans know exactly what they're going to see.
You should know by now.
They know exactly what they're going up for. You know what I mean?
You should be no illusion before going up to Villa yesterday what was about to happen. It was so obvious that we were going to lose. We were going to put our second string team, and that's it. So I agree with you on that. But still, fans who did go have paid money, and that's obviously something that has to be taken into account. But at the end of the day, would a fan paying their money rather we play a really strong team and really go for it and risk the game on Wednesday, or would they rather us play a second string 11 and go for glory on Wednesday and have our best chance we can of winning that trophy? And I'm sure all the fans would probably have said, as long as we win the trophy, even though it's a bad performance, that's what we've got to do. So I think we all know that Europa League is so massive. Sonny called it his biggest game of his life. I think that's what a lot of players probably feel like right now. Ange knows, look, whether he's staying or not, what a massive game that is for his career and his reputation. It's either worst manager in Tottenham's history league-wise this season, or the cold manager who's going to drop the mic saying he always wins a trophy in his second season and does what he says. Everyone knows how much is riding. Interesting listening to Ange's press conference after the game, asked about Romero and Van der Ven. He said, and Vicario and the doggy all being left out. And he said, when we have those guys fit and available, our chances of winning massively improve. That's what the stats have shown, and that's obvious for everyone. And he said, I just can't risk it. He said, I can't risk them not playing or picking up something when we've got a massive game on Wednesday. Man United took the opposite approach. They have the approach of, we've got 5 days between this game and Wednesday, and they're going to have 2 rest days, and they're going to have 2 game days on the training ground, and that's enough rest day for me to play up my full strength team, and we can get that match sharpness in 2 weeks gap or 10 days gap between the game and the Europa League final was too much. And that's also fair. And I think in a perfect world of our season, injury-wise, had gone differently, we probably would have done something similar. But I think just the way things have gone for us and the kind of how much is riding on Wednesday, he took the decision of not doing that and just making sure we have our best 11 that we have available for Wednesday. And I think we've performed well in the Europa League, even when we've had lots of changes. I know it's not really been 2 weeks, it's usually been 1 week, but still, it has happened, and we've usually turned up and performed. So I'm confident he'll get them ready for Wednesday, and that kind of the fact that we're having a 2 week break hopefully shouldn't be too much of a factor.
It's interesting though, the route that Ruben Amorim has taken, because when he won in the quarterfinals, he said it's all about the Europa League now, and he's going to be prioritising the Europa League. He's going to be playing kids in the Premier League, which he did do for that 1 week afterwards. But then ever since then, he's gone full strength, and now he's taking the narrative of the way he's going about things now. So I just don't understand kind of the way Ruben Amorim is managing this situation. It felt like, in his mind and the way he's talking about it in the press, the Europa League was a lot bigger for him going into the semi-finals than it is going into the final.
Yeah, he said after the game yesterday, he said, we're Man United, we need to be at our best every game, we need to be competing every game, and we also need the match sharpness as well. Although he did say after he took off Casemiro, Bruno, and I think Luke Shaw to protect them for the final. So obviously that was in his mind. But he's of that opinion. We need to create a culture that we need to be ready every game, and just because we've got a final coming up, I guess it doesn't mean that we don't try and go and win every game that we're there for, and that's the kind of standards we need to hit, and that's also fair. I understand that as well. And maybe, look, you could maybe read into it that Ange maybe thinks I'm gone anyway, so I'm just going to do all I can to get into that final and win that final, and then I'm probably going to be sacked anyway. So as long as I win the trophy, I don't really care about anything else.
I'll tell you,
maybe that's the case. But
if Jose Mourinho was manager of Manchester United right now, I reckon he's resting everyone on this week. Everyone.
Well, that's what apparently when he was manager of Tottenham, that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah, that's why he got sacked.
That's why he got sacked. Well, that's what I've heard anyway. That he against Southampton on the midweek, because we had a midweek game, he wanted to kind of rest everyone in view of that Carabao Cup final, and Tottenham weren't happy with it. So because they wanted him to play a full strength team. So I think he probably would have, but I don't know. I don't like. You've also seen other men, like for example Arteta in the lead up to some big Champions League games. He's gone for a strong team because maybe he wants to keep up the match sharpness. You can go either way, really. I think for us, given our league position and given the fact that this trophy means, just the fact that we could win a trophy means so much more to us than Man United. Just as in, we're not looking at that Champions League spots. We're looking at the trophy. We're looking at winning something and how big that'll be. I guess we just can't take any chances. And that's for them, it's like if they're looking to build a culture and they're looking to build that more team cohesion, which they just haven't had, then it's more like we're going to get our first 11 out there. And yes, we pick up. It's worth risking a few injuries ahead of the final to do that, I guess. Maybe that's his feeling.
Yeah, I do think if it wasn't going the way it did this season, with players going down and breaking down so often, I think Spurs probably would have gone a little bit stronger yesterday, but it's just not the way. Like, we lost 2 players yesterday alone, you know what I mean? We lost Sarr and Mikey Moore in the game yesterday. We lost Kulusevski in the game prior to that. I mean, players just dropping like flies at the moment, and they have been doing all season. So I think it's the right way to go about things if you're a Spurs manager to completely protect these players. Because if Sarr's out for the final, we've literally got no midfielders even on the bench. Like we've got no
Gray
midfielders.
would be the last one.
Gray would be the last one, exactly. And you don't really trust him in midfield in a cup final, do
And
you?
all of a sudden, a lot of people suggesting Sarr might even have started the final with Gray, with Benteke or Basuma. Now we kind of have to find a solution now if Sarr's in the 10. It's like it's gone from can we find a solution to what is the solution, because we need one.
Yeah. But look, that was the game. 2-0 loss against Aston Villa. But let's just put that to the back of our minds now. Let's prepare for Bilbao. And I cannot wait to get out there, people. I cannot wait. And you know what? Like, it's just like, it's so hard not to just like, it's so hard to be like negative and angry about the Villa game when you just know in a few days' time you're going to be out in Bilbao and you've got a cup final, European Cup final to have all your focuses on. So, look, it is what it is, guys. Just everyone just get excited, get confident, and get buzzing for the cup final, which is only in a few days' time, people.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we're all so excited. I've never, obviously we were excited for the Champions League final, don't get me wrong, but there's a different buzz. Like, everyone kind of feels like maybe this is our time. Like, maybe this is the time we're going to go and win that trophy.
That's never a good thing, though.
Maybe, but as I said yesterday, there does seem to be something in the air this season when it comes to cup competitions and teams breaking their droughts, and it's the time for a lot of these teams. This could be seen as the season where everyone broke their trophy droughts, except for Arsenal, which would be fantastic. So maybe it is Tottenham's time. I think in 2019 it was a miracle we got there. But it was also kind of a miracle that Liverpool got there as well, and how they got there in the semi-finals, and they were the better team. So I think most people didn't really think we were going to win that game.
Well, I don't know. I disagree, because the way we got there, it just kind of felt like, from a Spurs point of view, I know Liverpool got there in their own way, and their semi-final was also, as crazy. Maybe not as crazy as ours, but still very crazy.
Nearly as miraculous.
They got battered in the first leg to Barcelona. They overturned that in the second leg at Anfield. But we were just focusing on Spurs' journey, right? And we saw how we got through against Man City. We saw how we got through against Ajax. And I remember the narrative being like, look, our name's on the trophy. Look how we got there.
I think people were hopeful, but we knew we were the inferior team.
Yeah.
We knew Liverpool were much the better team than us. And as much as we were, I think obviously there's a feeling maybe it is, but I think going into it, we knew we were still the underdogs. And we're still the inferior team, and there's still the likelihood is we're probably going to lose, even though there's obviously a good chance. It's a cup game. We're still a good team at that time. We weren't a bad team like we are now. Like, we were still quite a good team. We did finish fourth, even though we collapsed in the league. We still got that top 4. We still had a lot of very good players. So obviously the feeling was we got ourselves a chance. But I think going into it, I don't think anyone was really expecting us to win. Now it's just a bit different. Now it's like I don't think anyone's going into this game.
Basically, we're both as shit as each other.
Yeah, like, but there's nothing to fear in this. There's nothing to fear in this game. We 100%. There's no reason to think we're worse than Man United. We can beat them. We know we've beaten them already 3 times this season. This could definitely be our time. This could definitely be our time coming Wednesday.
I can't remember the last time we've gone into a cup final with kind of 2 teams as 50-50 as it is. Like, quality.
When you go into like a North London derby, like you're dreading it. You know what I mean? Not just because right now they're better than us. Even when we were good, you're dreading it. Just because I
was relishing it then.
But it's like the fear of losing and like what that could mean, and the tension in all these games. And obviously you're kind of looking forward to it, but also the back of your mind, that tension, you're kind of dreading it. But I don't think there's any of that feeling going into this game. Everyone's just excited. Everyone's just looking forward to this game and can't wait to see what's going to happen in Bilbao, I think.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to player ratings